So we are talking about The Woman in the Window, or as I call it, Karen in the Window, because this is exactly what this movie is. Here we go again with another, Netflix, horror thriller thing, and it's terrible! What a fucking thought! It would be terrible. Oh, Netflix, you give me gold. Oh man, you are like the I guess oldest streaming service I have outside of fucking cable, and you never cease to disappoint, amaze, all those things. Anyway, yeah. So obviously this is a re-diddly-mabopper of Hitchcock's Rear Window, which I think I had rewatched it within this past year, because what else was I doing? Not like I have a job to go back to. Anyway, so, yeah, there's been many times that I've said, don't put, a good movie in your bad movie, and this movie did that, this movie did that, 4 times. I love how the movie starts out with a shot of what's his name from Rear Suddenly I am verbally dyslexic. From Rear Window, what's his name from that movie, and I'm just like, oh, okay, they're not even, they're not even just like, oh, this might be a movie kind of based on. It's like, no, here we go. Here's the reference. And the last video of the thing seen, heard, and who gives a fuck, whatchamacallit, I made the joke. There's still fireworks going on. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I made the joke saying how that movie felt like it was like a project that I had to do for college, that kind of stuff. This one feels like someone has just paid attention to what movies I've watched within the past year and was like, hey, what if we threw that all into one movie? Huh? And it's like, no, you can't do that. I mean, not all movies I watch, because then this movie would have just been really wackadoodle. But, even the stuff, they freaking reference, it's like, oh my god, it's literally everything I watch within, the year. Yeah, so, when the character falls asleep, yeah, you see Rear Window. She also then watches Dark Passage, which I was like, I also just recently watched that. Spellbound, which they show that too, which I was like, another Hitchcock movie. And then Laura, which I was like, oh my god, stop following me, anyway. So this movie is about Amy Adams. She's agoraphobic. She's a child psychiatrist, psychologist. She's a shrink, for children, but she also, needs one because she's agoraphobic. And she's being a Karen. She's being nosy as fuck. And I'm just saying, after spending an entire year inside, I did not give a fuck what the hell my neighbors. I did never, in general, give a fuck about what my neighbors do. And definitely being locked in my house, I definitely didn't give a fuck even more. Yeah, so Amy Adams is agoraphobic, blah, blah, blah. She lives in, this fucking brownstone fucking shit in the Upper West Side, which that shit has to be $20 million or some crazy shit like that. This made me think of the movie Panic Room when they were like, oh, let's look for a new house. This one has an escalator. Your house has an escalator! Oh yeah, there's also the perfume section of your house. Fuck. Luxury handbags are to your left. An elevator, Jesus Christ. But it had that feel to it because it's the expensive brownstone shit that no one could fucking afford. And it's like, ma'am, I know you're a shrink and all, but damn, that fucking house. Of course there's 7,000 floors to it, but she has a tenant in the basement. She's got all them damn floors to herself and a tenant in the basement. And the tenant in the basement is Wyatt Russell, which I was like, okay. I love how this movie likes to throw a bunch of curveballs at you to, make you kind of, think and second guess. So, Gary Oldman's in the movie, super white hair, but, thick hair. Oh, they gave him, some thick hair. They didn't do the white hair, and then he's just, balding, ooh. He gave him, some volume and stuff. And they make him look like you know, he's a villain, because when Gary Oldman is not the protagonist, he's always the bad guy because it's Gary Oldman, you know. So of course, like they allow him to just. They allow him to be British, at least. So then he's like extra evil, because he's like, he's British! He's British in New York! That's never a thing! I've never worked with British people in New York! That's never a thing! You know, anyway. Anyway, oh, and then, like, that's, like, the neighbor that moves across the street, you know, and then, like, they have a son who's, like, this... I thought it was weird that they had to, like, kept letting you know that the son is 15 and a half years old. Like, don't you stop, like, saying you're whatever and a half years old by the time you reach, like, 10? You know, by the time you're in the double digits, you know, because, you know, when you're like, I'm 4 and a half, I'm 7 and a half, you know, that kind of stuff. No one goes, I'm 15 and a half. Like, you either say I'm 15 or you want to, like, sound cool and then say you're 16. And then by the time you hit 18, you know, you don't really, like, tell your... Like, I don't tell people my age because people just never believe how old I am anyway. You know, so I technically could say any age and people would be like, sure. You know, I could say I'm 25 and people would be like, yeah, I'm not. I'm much older than that. But people would be like, yeah, of course. You know? Anyway. But this guy who's 15 and a half years old, and he has, like... That kid has, like, you know, like, Xbox lobby energy to him, because he's just kind of like, oh, I'm so meek and mild, okay, and I'm like, something ain't right. You're a white teenage boy who's living in an expensive ass place. You've probably already said the N-word about 4 times already today. And you're also, like, you probably have collected certain things you shouldn't collect, and then you probably have a manifesto. I'm just saying. I'm just fucking saying. Like, I already was like, I'm, like, sus about this kid, because I'm also always sus about freaking, white guys, and young white dudes. And this is, like, a horror thriller thing, so it's like, I'm always just like, looking at you. And your dad is Gary Oldman, so it's like, I'm looking at both of you right now, you know? So... Anyway, so yeah, her ass is agoraphobic, and she's always just like, she's always like such a mess, you know, like I don't have eyebrows on right now, but like a mess. She's always just like, I just can't go outside, and I get it, you're agoraphobic, you're not gonna go outside, and people want you to go outside, I get it, and it feels like, it's like, part of, like, the way how her character is written, like, you kind of don't feel bad for her, and that's a terrible thing, because a character like that, because she's the protagonist, you want to, like, you're supposed to have her side, you're supposed to be like, oh no, poor thing, you know, you can't go outside, like, take your time, that kind of stuff, but, like, the way how she was written and stuff, you're just like, get your fucking ass out there, you know, because whereas in, like, Invisible Man, you know, she's like, okay, let me try to, like, walk up to the mailbox and get the mail, all that stuff, and she can't do it, and you're like, she's got this, I believe in her, she's got it, you know, and, like, you're like, I'm with her, but, like, in this movie, you're like, bitch, just sit on your stoop, fuck, that's just, like, the feeling I got, which was just kind of like, just shut up, just shut up, you know, and you also knew there was something, like, else wrong with her, because you would hear the voice of her daughter, you would hear the voice of her husband, but you would never see them. But, you know, she would say, like, oh, like, they don't live with me anymore, but I talk to them every day. And I'm like, in your head? Because it's like, this movie is trying to, like, it does not even, there's, like, it's not even foreshadowing, it's just kind of like, anyway, this is, like, you know. Yeah, whatever you guess is, you know, like, you know, sometimes it's, like, the entire time you're supposed to think that Gary Oldman stabbed his wife. And that kind of stuff. Like, Gary Oldman, bad, stabbed wife, protect son, also maybe your tenant is sus. You know, that kind of stuff. Okay. No. Like, no. And also, yeah, you have all these, like, big, and what's her name? Julianne Moore is also in the movie, and fucking Jennifer Jason Leigh is in this fucking movie. Oh, your husband's played by fucking Anthony Mackie? Jigga, what? Anthony Mackie is literally there, and like, what? Was that Anthony Mackie? Yeah. Like, that's how long you see Anthony Mackie. You're like, what? Huh? At first you're like, oh, that voice sounds familiar. Then you see him, you're like, oh my god, it's Anthony Mackie. But why am I only seeing the back of his head? Oh, now I see the side of his face. And then that's all I see of him. Okay, I'm upset. you tell me you're gonna give me Anthony Mackie, you don't give me Anthony Mackie, you know. Anyway, so like, just it's so stupid. So, you know, trick-or-treaters are egging her house because, I'm sorry, I would too. I would be like, oh hey, you guys want to go up to like the Upper West Side and egg some rich people's houses? Oh yeah, let's go do that, you know? Pay your taxes! You know, like, potato gun filled with eggs, you know, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Frozen dumplings, that shit would hurt. Anyway, so, it's such a stupid movie, and it's just like, yeah, like, and I watched it again, like, a couple days ago, like, a day or two ago, and I'm just like, huh? So, you know, blah 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 stuff. She sees Julianne Moore get stabbed, but she's like, and then they're like, oh my god, you know, she got stabbed, and they're like, you never met my wife. That's not my wife. This is my wife, Jennifer Jason Leigh. And then she's like, but I saw her. I was talking to someone. Oh my god. And of course, this is where she gets gaslit. Oh, and then like the cop is played by what's his name, Brian something. He plays Paperboy on fucking Atlanta. Again, you're just adding this roster of amazing actors into this movie, and you're not utilizing them well. It just like you got a shitty script, and then like the choices, but also literally the choices of like editing in this movie, and then like camera work was just like, oh, okay, you know, like something will happen, and they're like, anyway, we'll have a static shock, and then static shock, like a static shot, and then all of a sudden they're like, let's do this to the camera, and you're like, whoa, okay, or they'll just be like, or it'll be a thing where it's like, you're looking at something, and then they're like, whip pan it, you're like, oh, Gary Oldman, you know, you're like, oh my god. No, like, I guess that's how you're supposed to react, because you're, like, they kind of do first person, for some reason, like, it just kind of, like, comes out of nowhere, you know, like, sure, oh, what, Gary Oldman, you know, and you're like, okay, it's Gary Oldman, you know, like, maybe it was, like, Michael Ironside, then I'd be like, ah, you know, it's Gary Oldman, you know, anyway, so, yeah, so she's being gaslit. She's like, I swear I saw her get stabbed. And the entire time, mind you, like, because in the original Rear Window, he's got a telescope, he's got a binoculars, da-da-da. This one, she's got, like, the big-ass fucking, like, DSLR with, like, a lens the size of my dick, like, that kind of shit. And she's just, like, looking out her window. Also, window's wide open. She's like, I'm not peeping, you know? And then she sees the person get stabbed. I don't know, like, if I'm just holding the camera like this, my instinct, I would just, like, just be like, ah! I would have just pressed, you know, the shutter, just because I would have been like, oh shit, you know? But instead, she's like, she didn't take the picture, and everyone's like, why didn't you take the picture? She's like, I wasn't, like, snooping, and I was just, like, looking, and I was just, and we're just like, okay, ma'am. So, of course, you know, just Amy Adams is a mess the entire time. Which I have to say, like, she was technically a mess the entire, like, her character, not actual Amy Adams, but her character in Sharp Objects was, like, a mess the entire time in that freaking miniseries. Am I seriously getting a call on the landline? What the fuck time is it? Who the fuck calls at this fucking time? Who are you? What was I saying? Yeah, so she's just like, you know, oh, I didn't take the picture, da-da-da. And then, like, she gets, oh, that one night, she gets, like, an email with, like, a picture of herself, like, asleep. Oh, I love how it's also, like, when she was asleep, you also saw her clock, like, right, like, slightly out of frame. It said 2 a.m., just so you know, like, she was asleep, like, in the middle of the night, you know? And I love how long that image took to load. I was like, what, you got fucking dial-up in that fucking brownstone of yours? Like, the fuck, bitch? You know, it was like, also, it's either she got dial-up or that's like a fucking, like 8K picture that was taken, you know? And it's just like, hold on. And somehow you were able to, you know, send that through email. Anyway, yeah. So, of course, she's like, oh my god, someone's been in my house. You know, and then no one believes her, of course. Again, I told you, someone's in her house. She's got like 7 floors. Oh no, maybe the fucking, you know, tenant is, like, you know, not okay because it's played by Wyatt Russell, you know? And it's like, oh my god. And then, of course, the movie goes to, like, a twist, which it's like, saw that coming. You know, turns out, yeah, Julianne Moore really does exist. Like, well, obviously she does exist, but her character really exists. That really is I think, like, that's the actual birth mother of the son and da-da-da, but, like, she followed them from, you know, Boston to New York, and Jennifer Jason Leigh is, like, the new mother, you know, that kind of stuff. And so, like, yeah, like, Julianne Moore really did get stabbed, but not by Gary Oldman. Got stabbed by, no surprise, the teenage son. Oh, no surprise there. She got stabbed by the fucking teenage son. Like, already said, that kid was sus. Also, like, when he came over her house, and he was meeting her, and he was just so, like, all that stuff. And like, the way how he was referring to things was also had me go, like, because he, like, pointed to the pictures of, like, her family on the fridge instead of being like, oh, is that your family? He literally said, are those your people? What? Are those your people? What? Who says it like that? I get it, teenager, awkward, da-da-da, but, like, are those your, you know? And then there was, like, oh god, yeah, because she has a cat. And then, like, he's like, oh, sorry, I'm highly allergic. And then, you know, but he, like, enjoyed the cat, like, licking his fingers. And he's like, I like cat tongues. And it was like, like, when he said that, I was like, ah! Ah! I immediately was like, nope. Because when he did the whole, is that your people? I'm like, I kind of, like, I let that slide. But the moment he's like, I like cat tongues, I was like, ugh. You know? Just like, yeah. Oh, and then you figure out that he's inside the house because he sneezed, because cat, you know? And then he's there, like, with his hoodie all up, and he's like, I love how everyone in the movie is me, with allergies, just like, you know? And he's just like, everyone thinks I'm in New Hampshire right now. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was the thing. And then it was like, he's like, yeah, I've been in your house all week. And it's like, yeah, because, bitch, you live by yourself in a home that has like 5 to 7 floors. Your tenant lives in the basement, who's kind of like in and out whenever, and it's the basement, so whatever. He doesn't, and he does, the only time he comes up into your part of the house is like, it's every so often, and he like goes around to the front to do that, because he's even said, he's like, I don't want to scare you and like go through the basement entrance, yada yada, you know, and then you're on all these medications, and you're drinking on all these medications, because why not, YOLO, I guess, you know, and so if someone was just living in your house, you probably wouldn't know, because bitch, you are just not fully there, you know. And I love the whole angle of her being, like, the child psychiatrist person, and in her, like, feeling so much, like, sympathy and empathy towards, like, the boy and all that stuff, but she didn't catch that he was sus. I was like, no, I immediately felt that. But again, I said, I was like, it's a teenage white boy, there's something wrong with him, you know? I'm just like, you know? But yeah, that was, like, the twist was that, oh, also, like, an explanation before the twist happens is because she was saying how, like, oh, my husband, my whatever, and one of the officers was like, ma'am, your family's dead. And it's like, wow, what a way to break it to them, you know. And you see this flashback scene of, like, that's the only time you actually see Anthony Mackie. You see this, like, flashback scene where they're driving and it's snowing, and then, like, her phone rings, and then, like, it falls, and then she's like, instead of being like, well, fuck it, let me keep driving this icy road, she's like, let me grab my phone. I killed my family. Oh my god. That's why she's agoraphobic. You know, that kind of stuff. Apparently, like, real quick exchange of dialogue. Apparently, Amy Adams' character was, like, cheating. Bitch, you're gonna cheat on Anthony Mackie? You're gonna cheat on Anthony Mackie? Like, girl. That's very dumb of you, ma'am. Cheat on Anthony Mackie. Excuse you. But yeah, it was just like, oh, and then again, like, the style over substance thing. So when she was, like, having her flashback thingy, da-da-da, and then when it comes back to, I guess, like, now or whatever, she's, like, standing in one of her rooms. I can't even say it's a living room. It's like, I don't fucking know, one room. And then there's, like, a, you know, turned over car in like another room, you know, like all stylistic, like that part made me think of that movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, like that movie where like it had style and substance to it, whereas this one was just like, oh, let's put like a flipped over car and in the foyer over there, you know, yeah, that'll be fine, you know, we'll just fucking do that, you know. God, my accent hit really hard right there. That was not even on purpose. Just like my accent just came out real hard. Yeah, like it was just trying. Oh, this is also done by what's his name, Joe Wright, who did like those other movies. You know, those other movies. Pride and Prejudice, Atonement. Yeah, he did Darkest Hour, which is why fucking Gary Oldman's in it. He did an episode of Black Mirror, did Chanel Number 5, yeah, anything that has frickin' Keira Knightley in it, pretty much, yeah. But yeah, like, he's done those movies, and they're fine, you know, but Jesus, what happened here, man? Like, Netflix was like, hey, you did that episode of Black Mirror, now you have to do a whole fucking movie. And he's like, I don't fucking know what I want to do. But yeah, this is Karen in the Window. It's not good. It's really bad. Like, just watch Rear Window. Just watch Hitchcock's Rear Window, okay? Stop trying to remake something. Like, certain things just don't remake. And I get a lot of people want to remake Hitchcock just because it's Hitchcock and they want to put their own spin to it or modernize it or something. But, like, a good chunk of his, like, really famous stuff, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone, man. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. You know, just leave it alone.